Together, we are going to discover how to turn your business finances into a foundation of peace and clarity and predictable profit so that you can pay yourself confidently, plan with purpose, and finally operate like the CEO that you're called to be. So, my read AI just came in, so hopefully that doesn't happen every time. But nonetheless, thank you for coming to the Revenue Reality webinar so that you can match your revenue with your CEO salary. So, Montina, did you get a chance to go over the CEO salary calculator? That was a freebie that I was giving on whenever anyone signed up on my list. And that's giving you visibility on what to pay yourself versus guessing, what you need to pay yourself from your business based on your personal spending plan. Okay. Stick with me to the end and you'll be able to win a chance to get $25 for Uber Eats and then also get access to like the special invite for our bookkeeping and strategy service offer. Now, let's talk about what might be keeping your profits from feeling like it's personal. So, how long have you been in business, if anyone want to share? So, sometimes, when our business earns well, but our personal bank account doesn't feel like it. I know a lot of times I've been doing bookkeeping and fractional CFO work for the past 10 years. And okay, 9 years. Okay, that's amazing. And one of the biggest things is when someone makes profit in their business, they're like, okay, what does that mean cash flow wise? Why don't I see that in my bank account? And why am I not able to pay myself consistently that CEO salary or even a salary? We don't necessarily call it CEO salary. But when we develop into having our businesses, we then we create that title CEO. But you might also feel that you might pay yourself and it's inconsistent, but then you're bracing yourself for any cash flow dips in business, And, how we grow our revenue, how do we grow our revenue while also not losing our peace, our profit, and our purpose? So if that sounds familiar, we're going to talk all about that today. So my promise to you by the end of the session, you'll be able to understand the 4 different margin markers, revenue margin markers every CEO must track to turn their revenue into consistent pay and how to use them, right? Use these markers to build a personalized profit plan that you can use with clarity and confidence. All right. So, what if I feel like this year has been a trying year for everyone, with the state of events and this with the economy, everything. But a lot of things or one thing that has come to mind is there's a different way to prosper without putting so much pressure. I know back in 2016 to like 2022, people were like, it was like hustle, just kind of like moving fast. Now it's like, what if I didn't have to put so much pressure on myself and my business to really prosper? You've mastered the work and now it's time to master your numbers to sustain it. And one of the things that we think of when growing our business is selling more doesn't necessarily mean that we'll earn more. And you started the business not to chase money, but to create freedom, impact, and overflow. Does anyone want to share why they created their business? And I'll share my story in a little bit. And your finances matter because it brings peace to your numbers and just peace to your life as well. And a lot of CEOs think that they have either two options with hustling harder to make more money or figure out what's left versus doing it the overflow way. So I'll also share my overflow method. And I want to share, how we can go from glorifying our businesses or our expertise to really being sustainable in our businesses. And, why now? Because peace can't wait for perfection. And I think this is a physical manifestation of that. I had created my whole slew of what I wanted to do for the webinar, had everything scheduled, and then life happened in a lot of different ways. And till this morning, I was like, you know what? Let me just cancel. But I woke up and I was like, you know what? No, let me show up imperfect. And so Montina shares that originally she wanted to create a business as a therapist only to help people. But the current system as it stands is not sustainable. Share more if you don't mind. I know as a therapist, I have a couple of therapist clients, and I know when it comes to working one on one, you might feel like there's a cap on the income that you can earn until you've been growing. Okay. Ooh, okay. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Yeah, that is something that is huge, especially with therapist clients. So, a little bit about me in the business. So, I am a fractional CFO and financial strategist to multi six and seven figure CEOs. I'm also the host of Harmonious Wealth, where I blend faith and finance. I am the creator of the Overflow method and the Key Path principle. I've helped clients grow their profit margins from like 30% over to 200% year over year growth while working less. I've also been, my clients have been featured as industry leaders and trusted women CEOs nationwide. And I didn't start out, with my story, the typical accounting degree to corporate to entrepreneur pipeline. I actually started college where my family almost pressured me into being a nurse, but I am the most clumsiest person. So I'm like, you know what? Let me actually do the business of healthcare. So I decided to do a um, major in healthcare management. And that's when I wanted to be a like CFO of a hospital. I took my first accounting course, fell in love with accounting, and I actually wanted to change my major. But at the end of college, guess what? I was pregnant. As you see, this is literally the night of my graduation. A couple weeks after graduation, I had my daughter, and really random, I was a foster mom to adults with special needs. So essentially, at like 25, or from 23 to 25, I was a foster mom to adults with special needs. And I felt like a mom of three overnight, my early to mid 20s. And I wanted to find something different. And that turned into doing blogging. I started blogging in late 2015, and that's when I saw so many women in business crushing their goals, but they were really afraid to talk about money. And I remembered, I wanted to always go back to school for accounting so that I can be a CPA. And I just was overwhelmed with the desire to help these women in business by at least, helping them with their bookkeeping. And that's where it started. I started a bookkeeping only business where I helped entrepreneurs understand one, what the numbers were telling them, and then two, help them create a path for a streamlined tax season and hand over the taxes to their tax accountant. And what was interesting is when I first went full time in about like 2017 to 2018, that's when my life changed. I began navigating life as a single mother, and I was just pushing all of my focus onto my clients, and I was ignoring my own finances. Like, how does that happen? And that's when I hit financial rock bottom. I was just going through all these different things financially. My clients were going from like 100,000 to 1 million that next year, literally back to back, multiple clients, and I was struggling. So I decided to say, what if I treated myself like a client? What if I created my own profit plan, my own systems, and did my own bookkeeping every single week so that I could stick to a plan? And then within that next year, I was able to create my own six-figure business, paid off a bunch of debt, and then I was able to buy my home. So this picture, I cut my hair in 2016. Really, really short. I cut it again. That means life is about to change, right? And I bought a home for my daughter and I in 2021. So in 2020, January 2020, our apartment lease was up. So I was like, you know what if I just go back home, chill, little did I know, 2 months later, COVID happened, and I was like, by the grace of God, we were able to, like, be with family during all of that time, and I was able to save, pay off debt, all those different things, and that was truly a blessing. And then, I don't know why this picture's not coming up, but that's interesting. But in 2022, a life-changing event happened to me, and that's where I started to just kind of slow down my pace in business. I was like doubling my own revenue. I was growing my team, full-time team members, all those different things. And then just a life-changing event happened where I had to literally slow down. I was not myself. And then in 2023, I decided to stop striving and start surrendering. I found Jesus. And what's interesting is in New Year's Eve, 2023, my daughter and I got baptized. And a couple weeks later, I had a um, car accident. And that's when I've been just in a refinement season for these past few years. Thank God, we were safe, everything, we were good. And that's when again, in the refinement season, I launched a podcast. reshaped my offers and rebuilt my systems. And now my daughter is in 6th grade. She's an adolescent, so it's been a journey. And that's where I've just been really testing and figuring out what really has been working for our clients through life. And when it comes to really understanding where your numbers are, here are some of the myths that I see, right? And one of the myths is like when you're trying to fix your finances, you'll do it when you make more money. And I like to use the analogy that when people are wanting to get their bookkeeping done, they feel as if they need to make things perfect, or at least, when you have a housekeeper, you try to clean up the house a little bit before they come over so they won't judge you. But if you don't know where your bookkeeping is or like your financial systems are or how to really create them, then you're just kind of stuck in that loop. Another myth is, you can't pay yourself until you hire that full team. But what if you created a system where you're paying yourself that full CEO salary? So then anything above and beyond, you're then able to pay your team. So then that way you're not trying to hire someone and then feel resentful because you're paying yourself last, especially as a service-based business owner. And people think getting a CFO or a strategist sounds expensive. And a lot of times you don't necessarily need a CFO, but you can get some strategy here or there, and it doesn't have to feel so out of touch for you. And another myth is people don't feel like they have the time to manage their numbers. But if we create systems where I know for me, I was for clients able to create systems where we don't have to spend so much time doing it. And also, you feel like your business is different and you'll figure it out later. Does this resonate with anyone as far as like how they manage their own business finances? Okay, so the 4 margin markers overview. So first thing, the 4 margin markers are gonna be pricing for profit, and your salary. 2 is going to be your pipeline, how to create predictability and not just like spikes, every few months. And then looking over your conversion rates. I am a sucker for percentages where if you give me a percentage, I could visualize it in my head. And that helps me help you. And then also your sales cycle. How do you speed up, or even if it's not speed up, how do you make it more predictable for your sales cycle and business? And this is where I want to get more hands-on. Has anyone did the CEO salary calculator while they were on the list? And okay, so Megan says, "Hey Megan, thank you for coming. I'm currently a solopreneur and most of my money comes straight to me and I'm not making enough, but hopeful this will give me perspective." Okay. What kind of business do you have, Megan? So the first thing is pricing. We got a price for salary and our revenue goal. So in the CEO salary calculator, it provides you an ideal take home pay amount so that you know exactly what your revenue should look like to be able to pay yourself what you need and then also pay like a team in the future. Okay. Thank you, Martina. We could do yours. Um, okay. So we have the next thing with pricing is cost of delivery. And since a lot of us here our service providers, it's going to be really important that we price for profit. So, cost of delivery for a service provider can be one, your delivery assistant or someone who's doing the service on your behalf. Say, for example, with Megan, as marketing and operations strategist, she might have virtual assistants who are under her. What is the cost to deliver on each and every type of client or project? And then once we understand like what your goals are for salary and then what the cost of delivery is, now we can place the value back into that offer and then finalize the price. I know a lot of people say like charge what you're worth, all those things. You as a person, you are invaluable. However, your offer, it does have a value on it. So we do want to understand the value of that offer. What is the transformation that that person gets? What is the benefit that that person gets when they work with you? Also, what is typical for your industry as you've done your research. So when it comes to pricing, you have to understand cost of delivery, the profit margin, and this is a key tip. If you have a service-based business owner, there are two things that we're looking at. We're not looking at only the profit margin after every single thing, but the gross profit margin. So the revenue and then your direct cost, which is your cost of delivery, equals your gross profit margin. And ideally, it should be at 70% or higher, lowest 60%, so that you can maintain your other operating expenses so that you can pay yourself from your business. And, with our client, Jillian Austin of One Touch Events, she was able to have like from busy months where she's feeling as if she's not getting her payment plan structure correctly or her pricing wasn't right to predictable profit. So we were able to increase her rates for her to structure payment plans, which helped her automate her cash flow system. And then now she's able to pay herself a full six-figure salary. On consistently has $60,000 in cash on hand at all times. And that comes from having the ability to price for a profit in her business. And she's a service-based business owner. Okay. The next thing is a pipeline predictability. And that is where you're able to forecast your revenue seasons. And what I'll do here, I know I'm gonna have a little momentum, but I do want to workshop a little bit and give you insight on how to like quickly understand what your revenue goal should be based off of your CEO salary. So let me segue into this. Y'all, I'm new to this. Okay. So this is the exact version of your CEO salary calculator. And let me get back to the chat. Do I? Okay. So Martina, these are just example numbers here. So essentially, when it comes to the CEO salary calculator, you put in all of your fixed expenses, your flexible expenses, and so forth. And then it creates your fixed costs. And if you live off of half of what you earn, then you're able to create an exact number of what you should pay yourself. And then that creates an ideal revenue goal for if you're a solopreneur, and then an even better one when you want to grow your team. I'll see ya, Montina, if you don't mind getting off mute so that you can kind of share a little bit. You don't have to share exact number, just kind of like a ballpark. That way we can know, you can just immediately know what your revenue goal should be.
Sure. Okay. Which number you want me to start with? And thank you for doing this, by the way.
Yeah, so I love little spreadsheets and percentages, so this is the fun part for me.
Yes, yes, yes. So, all right. So which number we're going to start with?
So we can start with like a ballpark of like your fixed expenses.
Okay.
And again, it doesn't have to be honest, like
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So mortgage, 1950.
Mhm.
I think is quarterly, 250.
250 a quarter.
Yes. All right. Water is $100 a month. Gas is 68 a month. Lights are around 132 a month. Home insurance is paid in our mortgage. So that's that. Security, I think $30 a month. Okay. Health insurance is going to be about $1,000 a month because we're both business owners.
Is anyone a S corp
No.
business owner? Okay.
The internet is $200 a month. Insurance, nothing there for right now. So phone and internet are together. That's probably about right. That's probably about right. Car payment 625
Mhm.
and car insurance.
Okay, perfect. So for the sake of time, we're just
Yep.
gonna go over. No, 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 don't be sorry. You're good. You're good. So this is based off of living, right? So just so that when you're going over it on your own calculator and you want to add some more things, this part over here goes over like any like other fixed stuff like tuition and school stuff, all those things, and then debt. Put the minimum payments for debt. And then that way, here is where you'll be able to put in like extra that you'll pay off for debt and savings and things like that. And then flexible, that's also available here as well. So once you get that final number, you're like, all right, my fixed living expenses are 5156. And then life happens. So adding like a 15% buffer, give or
Yeah.
take, brings you to 5,900 as your living expenses, right? And then here is where we can play with the numbers. So ideally, a golden, everyone wants to live off of half of what they earn, but that might not be the reality immediately. So if you go to like 60, it's like, okay, cool, cool, cool. That looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit more feasible. And let me just put a little bit more like reality in here. Because what happens here is this is your fixed expenses. Once you put in your flexible expenses that fluctuate every month, you'll be able to have a what's left over, which is going to be used for like your wealth building, like savings, extra retirement, extra on debt, all those different things. But here is where you know what you need to get paid from your business. You mentioned that your spouse is also a business owner, so you'll be able to put in what you get paid as a household outside of your business, and then what's left over is what your business must pay you. So for this example, we can just say, okay, this is what you need to get paid from your business every month to be able to satisfy paying yourself what you need so that you live above your means, right? Or you live below your means based off of your take home pay. And what that means is for revenue, for it to be good, that means you need to be making about $20,000 in from your business to satisfy paying yourself that full CEO salary. And then once you hit between this 19.7 and this 32 to 33, that's when you're able to kind of at scale kind of grow your team and have that comfortability while
Mm,
paying yourself what you need. So that goes into if your goal for your monthly revenue is 19,000, now you know what units of like your offer should look like, or if you want to diversify what you have. Okay. So it will be great once we all hop off here that we kind of figure out what our revenue goal should look like based off of
right.
what we need to pay ourselves in our business. And that doesn't mean if you're at this number, if you're at a certain number and overnight you're expected to hit this. No, this means like working your way up to it or diversifying your income and your offers. Because I know that you said that you're a therapist, and are you looking to have like another type of offer, or what is that? What do you?
Mm, mhm. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely in the process of converting from the one-on-one to one-to-many with speaking and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
workshops and things like that, and also using the clients that come through my therapy practice as essentially market research for those offers. But
Mm-hmm.
again, that essentially requires me to grow a team in order to have capacity and variety to see those
Mm-hmm.
clients. So it is a dance.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, but I know our household probably spends somewhere now that with the additional cost of health insurance, probably spends somewhere between 12 and 13,000. And so that
Mm-hmm.
with these expenses, they weren't split down the middle. I just sort of gave you
Right, right, just like
the
overall.
total. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. This was helpful to start, and then once you now that you know what it does, you can plug those numbers in and see.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. All right. So, now back to it. Pipeline. Now we know our revenue goal. Now we split it up and like, all right, if my revenue goal is 20,000, if my revenue goal is 20,000 and I want to have a program where everyone pays maybe let's say 1,000, right? That's one of my offers versus so you have two offers. One is however much it is for like one-on-one, right? Versus maybe at 500 to 1,000. Now you kind of know what units it is. And then basing what we just went over for pricing, which means that we need to look over um, the direct costs for you to execute and the value of that service or offer. Then you have that price. And you could always fine tune it when it comes to pricing. Now we need to go into pipeline and predictability. One thing that's really important is to go through like the past few months and understand the seasonality of your business. Every business has a seasonality. So, say, for example, with Jillian's business, her business in the summer, because events slow down, it does get a little slower. However, that's where it's important to have like profit planning or like your payment plans flow into the the months where it's slower so that you don't feel that squeeze of the slower months and you're able to plan ahead. And once you're able to understand those things, right? Like for me, my slower season is also summer. And then in February, there's always something that's like really slow in February, but like right after tax season, I get a bunch of different cleanups. And then Q2, we're flourishing. And then Q3, things slow down because summer, a lot of my clients are 99% of my clients are mothers and they're taking a summer, they're taking the summer with their children. They're still working, but it's not as they're not as they're just slower, and I don't know, my brain is, like, not having the details. So, then having those cash flow buffers, what I've been doing, when it comes to pipeline is making sure I understand that I need to see who was on my leads list or prospect list and make sure that I am every day reaching out to a prospect or a lead so that I can know how I could, bring on more clients. So say, for example, my goal is every single day to do a sales routine. So reaching out to someone that kind of fell through the cracks in my lead pipeline, or reaching out to someone who can be an affiliate partner and making sure that I'm on a sales call every week so that I could make sure I know that I'm keeping up with my pipeline. Okay. And another client of ours, Sarah Marie, she went from underestimating her revenue to creating predictable profit. So she came initially to us when we were doing a profit planning session together. And during that profit planning session, we mapped out her 2025 through 2026. So she already got 2026 already planned out because she has a predictable pipeline and we're able to understand, what is her rate of growth with her clients and how does it grow every month in her business. And she's able to pay herself consistently and now she wants to save for her dream home. What's interesting is when she came to me she was underestimating herself. She was like, "I think I'll have this goal." And I'm like, "No, I think you'll be able to surpass this goal." And when we mapped it out, she surpassed it because she was already at her original goal that she just had in her head. So once you understand your pricing, then now you understand your pipeline and you're able to understand what are your target rate of growth for your clients every month, every quarter, then you're able to create a profit plan, not from just a random number, but from predictability and how you grow your business. So another thing, it's funny seeing my hair in all these different styles. It was growing back here. But another thing is understanding conversion rates. For me, this is the fun part, right? And here is where efficiently beats your volume. So this is where we are refining our offer positioning. We lead with our most aligned and highest value offer, and we simplify our sales journey, and then we measure and adjust and track. So when it comes to conversion rates, right? Let's say you have 10 sales calls and 5 of them convert on average, right? Now you know that your conversion rate is 50% on average. So this is fun because when you build on this, you have your pricing, you have your pipeline, but if you know your conversion rate, you're able to go backwards and say, okay, you know what? If I want one new client a week, and that means I need to at least get on 2 sales calls so that I could hit that one, right? For that week or even for the month if you don't want to give yourself that pressure for every week. So say you want 4 clients, new clients a month. That means you need to have 8 sales conversations at least to hit that goal. And you're able to simplify that and measure and adjust as you go along. And also, when you refine your offer, you're able to increase your conversion rates. And this is something that I helped a client do. So, Nagina, she went from low conversions to $100,000 launch. She shifted her offer strategy. So, with her, we were looking at her numbers and we were seeing that her conversion rates were lower based off of her audience is responding to. So instead of pitching her, and yes, we do help build the forecast for that, but We were helping her understand if conversion rates are lower, what if instead we offered the higher priced offer? Because if less people are buying, but they do want to buy, and if you position the highest thing, we were able to like turn around her launch goals or like her launch actuals by just that small tweak, understanding the conversion rates and taking action and testing. And she was able to position her highest offer, then downsell, then downsell, and then that allowed her to create a 100K plus cash collected launch, and she's been just crushing it. And one thing that is significant is these aren't overnight, like, I 2 weeks, I did 100,000 or a million. No, this is like, this is time, like this is time, like refinement and patience and like knowing your audience so well and like really using the data and then taking that data, executing on it, and then the numbers just work, right? So, having the ability to have this sales data allowed her to just have, just more confidence and also talk to the right people. And finally, sales cycle. This is another thing, how long does it take for someone to say yes? you know? And sometimes when it's bigger ticket, like say, for example, with my CFO service, that's going to take a little while longer, right? Because we're partnering in business, versus if someone wants to get a profit planning session with me or do our bookkeeping/strategy services, which I'll talk about today. Just understanding your sales cycle. How long does it take someone to go from, hey, I'm interested to like they book that service, track that. That's going to be really helpful. So then when you have your profit plan, especially your revenue forecast, you're able to do it based off of the predictability. And you can design faster conversions. I say like this because I don't want us to rush anyone into a decision. I want it to absolutely be the best option for them, but that doesn't mean that we can't make some efficiencies and improvements to just help people understand if you're the best for them sooner than later. And then also forecast for flow, planning ahead so that the money arrives when you need it. And this is important because when we talked about like stacking your pipeline, this also comes into your sales cycle and it all frames together. It frames together with the pricing, the pipeline, the conversion rate, and the sales cycle. Once you know all of these things, you can properly create your revenue forecast and your profit plan so that you can pay yourself that CEO salary. And then with our clients, speaking of sales cycle, this is our therapy practice clients. So we went from forecasting to freedom. We did a maternity leave plan for her months in advance. Like this time last year, we planned for her maternity leave in July. And this was based off of like her knowing, like, okay, I do this offer. I want to have my team members in because I'm going to be out. I'm going to take a maternity leave. So we were able to map that out. And she was blessed with having like high performing clinicians, especially like on her team as she was on maternity leave. And she already surpassed last year's revenue while she was on leave because we were able to create these goals. And now she's working on diversifying her income stream, similar to you, Montina, for long term growth as she continues to grow her practice. Because, life happens, we don't want to keep doing the exact same thing the exact same way. We could just transition and like elevate and grow all those different things. And having the ability to just have someone to partner with you to think of, marry the operations and the money or like the marketing and the money together can satisfy that as well. And, will you be the next success story? We have Jillian, who has 60K plus in months, and she's able to just have that peace and profitability and predictability. Zara planned her revenue 2 years ahead of the rest of this year and the next year while saving for her dream home. Nagina has hit her first, not the last, K plus launch with confidence and clarity, and Dr. Spesh surpassed her goals while on maternity leave. Anyone want to share what resonated with them during this time, especially like with the revenue markers? An offer that I have been just kind of crafting, created so I have a CFO firm, Lovely Financials Group, and I love it. Love, love, love. However, I wanted to get back to the basics and serve entrepreneurs like with the stewardship of their finances, and that's through bookkeeping and strategy. And I like to marry those two because bookkeeping is your financial stewardship. We might think of it as let's just do data entry and all those different things. It's above and beyond data entry. And it's really stewardship because it helps us understand what's coming in, what's going out, what's left over. And then also it helps us make decisions. And our business is supposed to be like eventually when we pay ourselves and we have enough profit in our businesses, it can help us grow wealth, right? And it's able to we could use it to give, we could use it to all those different things. And I wanted to get back to the basics. So I created a sister company called Margin Books Co. And that has been really fun to like really get back to like what I started to do in my business. And that's through creating like a bookkeeping system. But now, since I've, we could add a little strategy in there. So I want to introduce you all to our Margin Books Co. bookkeeping and strategy. And this is where, we're not just doing clean books. We'll have the clean books, but we have the ability to support your business where every month you're able to have your bookkeeping done, but then also understand, what is your actual versus what we predicted. So what we have is you'll do like a profit planning session with us, and every month you'll get your bookkeeping delivered with a report that is interactive. Okay, not just trying to figure out like a little spreadsheet or all those different things. So you'll be able to get financial clarity that you can trust, the peace of mind. On the 10th of every month, you're getting your bookkeeping done or you get your bookkeeping delivered. So what that means is you'll have like a report that is interactive, and you'll get a video overview of what transpired in that month. And you'll feel that calm, that things are organized, you have that confidence that you have your entire financial picture in place. You'll be proactive for tax and profit planning. We also deliver tax estimates every quarter so that you're not going into tax season like, all right, I owe what now? So, I like to say that when it comes to tax estimates, we have our estimates, the tax return has its own estimates, and then the IRS, right? But if you have but if we do estimates for you, it's been pretty on par with our clients, give or take. Of course, the IRS does their own thing, but our estimates have been pretty on par. And then you also have a financial partner who just gets you. I help women in different varieties of businesses, online businesses, whether it be service providers, coaches, consultants, therapy practice owners, and salon owners, all of those different things, and just kind of bringing like the commonalities and the nuances of those different industries and understanding that someone who can understand, right? Versus a CPA who's used to one type of business but then don't understand your business. See, that's different. Okay. And who is this for? What's funny is it has wealth hour, but it's supposed to be the bookkeeping. Anyone who's not ready to face their numbers honestly. See, Martina was able to say, "Hey, this is what I have," and I love that transparency, right? Like no more judgment. We're not gonna. I've seen everything. Okay. Of course, with one-on-one, you're gonna share more things, but I've seen everything, and I want you to be able to be empowered to face your numbers. And, this is not for you if you're not ready for that. Also, this is not for someone who wants something overnight with their results and doesn't want the long-term structure. And then someone who's unwilling to make the strategic changes for sustainable growth. And then who is the bookkeeping? Don't mind what the bookkeeping services for. The bookkeeping and strategy services are for someone who wants to align their faith, finances, and future goals with clarity. Okay. Someone who wants to who has been making consistent revenue, but you're craving more structure, predictability, and profit. It's heavy on the profit so that you can pay yourself what you need from your business. And then someone who's willing to take action, apply the plan, and lead their business with peace and purpose. So I've came up with like the 4 R's when it comes to like our best clients. So our best clients are those who are respectful. It's mutual, right? Mutual respect, mutual responsiveness, right? They're responsive, I'm responsive, so it works out. The next R is receptive. Are you receptive to feedback? Am I receptive to feedback? And then the fourth R is going to be responsible, right? If there's some feedback that you're given based off of the profit plan or the financial report, are you gonna be responsible to execute on that? If you feel overwhelmed, are you going to say, "Hey, I need some support," or what other resources do you think that I can leverage to execute on these different things? So with the 4 Rs that I've been kind of like honing in this year, it's like, "Okay, this makes like the perfect client relationship when we are mutually respecting each other, responsive to each other, receptive and responsible." And, that's why we have our bookkeeping and strategy offer. And this is where when you onboard with us, you first have like your onboarding form, and then you're able to book a kickoff call. That's where we kind of do all the boring stuff of like getting acclimated to like your accounting system, and in 2 weeks, we schedule your profit planning session. And that's where we do over your next 12 months and plan on all those things. We'll use the 4 revenue markers as like your revenue planning, and then we'll do your profit plan. So then that way you have visibility on the next 12 years in your business. And then if you have bookkeeping cleanup that you need to do, we can do that on the back end. But as long as that kickoff call, we get access to everything that we need. We'll do the work on the back end while you'll just focus on, okay, what are the strategic goals and how can I move forward, right? And if we do have a bookkeeping cleanup, we'll have a cleanup session. So then that way you understand what transpired year to date, and you're able to say, okay, it's like kind of like a journal entry. This is what happened through the year. This is why things increased or was stagnant or whatever have you, just kind of telling a story. And then we go into your monthly cadence. So every 10th of the month, you get your report with the corresponding video, and you're able to say, oh, okay, this is what happened. This is the forecast versus the actual. Let's see, are we on target? And then at any time, you can invest in like an additional support for like an additional strategy session. Usually, you're great with the one-on-one call at first, and then you have like your monthly cadence there. And everything that you get your monthly bookkeeping and reports delivered by the 10th with a video overview, quarterly tax estimates, profit planning tracking with audit ready receipt. Okay. So so secret, not so secret. People don't keep receipts, but we're gonna help you, okay? We're gonna help you with the receipts or specific things that will need a receipt, right? And it also comes with your annual projection session, which will go over. So I think the cornerstone of every profit plan is going to involve your CEO's salary, which you have you have that. So that's your cornerstone, right? And then once we know that, we now know your revenue goal. Once we go through the 4 revenue markers, we now mapped out your revenue. And then now we will map out your profit plan. So then that'll give you clarity there. And then having that seamless done for you support, easy onboarding with secure systems. I don't play that. We have secure systems, and then you have email access to us if you have any questions in between any reports. Okay. And then another client, Casey Handy, attorney Casey Handy from Casey Handy Law. We did her bookkeeping cleanup. And when she came to us, she just felt like she felt overwhelmed. We moved her from one system to another, and she was feeling overwhelmed managing it alone. She described what she felt as a huge weight lifted when she got her books clean, and now she feels confident in her P&L, and she finally understands her numbers. And she appreciated that our team was able to manage the books, and we actually taught her how to lead her business with clarity. Okay. So if all margin books code did was help you understand how to pay yourself with confidence, would that be worth it for you? If all we did was show you where your money was really going so that you can stop stressing over your cash flow and start leading with your peace, would that be worth it? And if all we did was give you one clear roadmap with a profit plan so that you can plan, save, and even scale your business instead of having that confusion, would that be worth it? And if that's all we did, what would that look like? So the pricing for our bookkeeping and strategy is $650 a month. I believe the value is at 12,000 easily annually because you have the profit plan, you get your bookkeeping, all those different things reporting. And that is where we start monthly at 650. And then if you do have a pay in full, it saves you 2 months and that's 6,500. And then 100% satisfaction guarantee. So when you start your bookkeeping journey with us, that's the deposit. And that goes, of course, towards your first month. And then after the kickoff call and onboarding, you don't feel confident in the process and us supporting you, then we have that 7-day deposit. You can get that refunded within 7 days. No risk, no pressure. And so I stand by how we do our services, so I definitely have that for us for no risk. But wait, there's a little more, okay? So we've been here what's interesting, we've been here for exactly almost 60 minutes. I think we're making great timing. And let's see. So again, with the wealth hour, we have our planning session, right? And we have the could before we get started, you'll have your CEO pre-work and that includes the CEO salary calculator. We'll go over that more in more detail. And there's something that I like to call the keep half diagnostic. So for we'll look at the past 6 months and we'll see, okay, were you able to keep half of what you earn? So the keep half diagnostic means that your business should be at 50% profit margin before your salary or close to it, getting close to it, because when you have a service-based business, we do have a little bit more expenses. And that diagnostic tells us, okay, based on your average revenue, your average expenses, here is what you should be hitting your target immediately before we hit those revenue goals so that you can get solvent and get to where you need to pay yourself every month. And that's going to be the first part of our 90-minute profit planning session. Okay. Okay. And then everyone has the CEO salary calculator. Okay. Okay. And now I know you showed up and I thank you. I thank you for staying to the end. And if you do join, you see why? There was a picture here, but it's not here. Anyone who joins or enrolls or does the deposit within the 72 hours, they will receive the profit pricing playbook. And this is where we get a little bit more intricate in well, audit your pricing and you'll have that tool. So if you maybe like 9 months down the line, you're like, all right, let me just go back and see how can I like rework this. You'll have a tool for yourself versus having to like invest in like a separate strategy session. And what that'll help you do is understand how to calculate your prices to fund your salary and the margin and your offer audit, just auditing your offer CEO pay tool and the margin map. So what I think of everything in percentages. So it'll give you guidelines on like what you should be spending on different line items in your business. Let's say marketing should be X percent. Um, team members should be X percent, all those different things so that you kind of have like a guideline in between our sessions to work with you throughout the business. So you have your profit plan, you get your bookkeeping, you get your reporting, but then you can also get your profit toolkit and you're able to have those guidelines ready for you. Okay. So again, it is we lose value is at 12,000 a year, right? And and I know that you're worth that clarity when it comes to having your business finances in order. You want that clarity and not chaos, and you've invested in your clients and in your craft. And now, what if you can lead your business with that confidence and peace, and and then we can grow your profit together. And again, pricing is at 650 a month or 6,500 pay in full. Okay. Any questions for me? I have a couple that I kind of rallied up, but any questions while I wait for questions? One thing that someone might be thinking about is what if my books are behind? Should I join? Absolutely. So I said that before we do our bookkeeping cleanup. We can do that in the back end. All we need is that kickoff call, get access to everything, and you can be on your way without interrupting our monthly cadence and services. And with our bookkeeping cleanup, that is going to be a fraction of the regular cost because it's going backwards. Our bookkeeping cleanup is about 350 a month, and you can do payment plans as well. So, say if you got to get the whole 10 months, we could say, okay, let's break this down so that you can get some relief for cash on hand, right? Perfect. And then another question you might have as I wait for any questions to come in is how does this differ from like your CPA or like your tax preparer? So your CPA typically, or your tax preparer or tax accountant typically works with you once a year, and you might work with them maybe biannually, maybe give them like a touch point. But we don't do tax prep, but we'll give you that tax estimate and we'll be that tax liaison between yourself and your tax accountant. So we do like a white glove, seamless handover. We do payroll. So when it comes to tax season, we'll create the boring reports for your tax accountant. So we pull it from the QuickBooks or the Zero. We pull the profit and loss statement, the balance sheet, and any trial balances. All the boring stuff we'll give to your tax accountant, and we'll hand those over. If you have a payroll system, we'll kind of gather all the W-2s, 1099, so that they can just get everything from us, and that you don't have to say, well, Iyanna said this or my tax accountant said that. It's like, no, we're just gonna talk together. We're gonna have like a little email, make sure that you get access and make sure that everyone is on the same page. And then with the tax estimates, you're able to say, okay, even though I didn't say throughout the year, at least I kind of know what we need to put aside for taxes, and we're not going into tax season with any surprises, ideally. And that's how we bridge that gap. So, to clarify, cleanup, payroll will be separate. So, cleanup would be separate. It'll be like a one-time cost on the back end. And then payroll, depending on the heaviness of your payroll, it would be extra, but it would be like minimal depending on the amount of like the amount of times that you do payroll. Is it weekly? Is it biweekly? Is it monthly? All those different things. We'll discover that on the kickoff call. So then that way we can get a feel of like what your if there's any add-ons that we need to have for your business. Another question is, what if I already have a bookkeeper? Do I need this? Okay. So this is a great question. So essentially, if you have a bookkeeper and you're not on like they're not doing what they need to do, it could be time to transition to a more hands-on bookkeeping system. So, how big is my team? So, usually I have a couple of bookkeepers on my team, and we're really small, small but mighty. In this season, as we grow, I'll be introducing like clients to team members. And so I've been having to like hone in, to lean in, and then as we continue to scale. Yeah. And weekly reconciliation, yeah, yeah, okay. I'm glad you asked that. That's a great question. So we try to go in weekly to do the bookkeeping, right? And sometimes I pop up like a pimple on the like client newsletter, like, hey, check your bookkeeping, see where you're at, okay? So in our reporting system, we have like an analytics dashboard where you can look at where you are now versus what was predicted or projected and see, okay, what do I need to do? Right. Or you can go into your accounting platform. You mentioned that you have QuickBooks. You can just see, okay, where am I at right now? Or look at the dashboard. I know the dashboard kind of gives you really quick income expenses. So, yeah, great question. Yeah, we try to keep up with it where we go in by every Friday and we do like the categorization. And if you're at a point where you're like, all right, my bookkeeping is decent, but I need the strategy. If that's you, we can have like a separate conversation about doing our one-off 90-minute profit planning sessions. Well, you'll get exactly what we talked about with the strategy for 90 minutes, and that's at 997. Mhm. Sure thing. And then as we look at that, I can also share our profit planning intensive session. That's one time 997. And with that, you'll get like homework of, filling out your CEO salary calculator, and then we'll kind of work from there. So then that way you can go into November. Imagine November and you have 2026 mapped out. So I'll put that here as well. And in the chat, let's say you want to do profit planning every year. So with the bookkeeping and strategy, you'll get one profit plan every year so that that's built in, right? But then if you're at a point where like, all right, let me at least do the profit planning session. And once you are a client, will that be a separate session? So let me backtrack. So the wealth hour is a separate service. It's just like a kind of like the beginning piece of like the monthly bookkeeping services. So every bookkeeping client at this rate starts off with their profit planning session, and that's built in every year. And then if you just want to start off with the profit planning session, you can. And then typically a lot of our clients who do the profit planning session are like, all right, you know what? I'm good. Let's continue the rodeo and and do the bookkeeping, or if you wanted to do cleanup or profit plan cleanup so that you can get everything cleaned up for 2025 and then start fresh with 2026, that's an option as well. Yes, Felicia. The profit planning session is the wealth hour. So they are the same thing. I'm so glad you asked that. Thank you for asking that. It's just that the wealth hour is a profit planning session. Okay. So yeah, no monthly meetings. You'll have your video 10-minute video overview every month. So say for example, if you want to ever get on a call, that would be like a separate offer. And something that I'm working out is getting like a kind of like a support ticket. Like if you have like a quick question, or like if you're like, hey, I want to hire this person, can I afford to? But we didn't talk about it during our profit planning session, because that is something that we'll talk about. We'll have like a support ticket where it's like a very minimal amount that'll be like a separate like strategy call, and it'll not a strategy call, but like a strategy video with like explanations and like just support there. I'm working on that as well. Let me go back to see if I had any more questions. Yay, thank you. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. So what the first 90 days with us, you'll have your profit planning session. You'll have your a couple the first 2 months at least reconciled with video overviews with like projections versus actuals. You have your clear and repeatable system. And this was fun.
Maybe the question is during the weekly reconciliation, I think I heard you say that you all would sort of say, hey, this is where you are compared to where we thought you would be, or what does it look like past just the clicking of the buttons?
Great question. So we use a reporting software called Fathom HQ, and that's going to give you not only your reports and forecasts, but like an analytics dashboard in a sense. And you can have like a special link that anytime you can like click on it and see where you are for the month versus what was projected.
Is it integrated with QuickBooks, or
Mhm.
is that the type of okay,
Yep, yep, it syncs
okay.
right with QuickBooks. So say for instance, we're already on the last day of the month. But let's say, for instance, let's say it was last
Right.
week and you're like, all right, every week, let's say every Monday, you go on that special link for your analytics dashboard and then you see where
Yep.
your bookkeeping is.
I would love that.
And that will allow you to just be proactive, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to work with they don't even look at the link, but it's like, here, it's available to you. But you having that special link, having a reminder even on your calendar with your special link, you can always look at it. And then that way you're able to see, are you hitting the target? Are you not? Like what's going on?
Okay. And I'm assuming that the information on that link would be updated after you all have obviously reconciled
Mhm.
for the week. So I could
Mhm.
look at it on Monday after you all have reconciled for the previous Friday.
Exactly, exactly. So
Okay.
say the reporting software syncs with QuickBooks, so like overnight it'll just kind of do its own thing. So then on that Monday you'll have fresh set of numbers ready for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And then I know you were I put that link here again. And I'm glad it was enlightening, Megan. Okay. Well, I'll let you get back to your little ones, to your home life, all those different things. I like to be in bed early, so I'm about to get ready. I appreciate you all so very much. You have a lovely rest of your night and weekend, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.